Hello there. Have you looked at the price of compost, bags of compost lately? Wow, it's ridiculous. What is going on? And or anything like that, dirt, anything. It's hard, it's expensive. Not only that, but so much is contaminated with the Grazon stuff and chemicals and all kinds of stuff. Um, what are we going to do? How are we going to feed our plants so that they'll feed us? Well, you say I'll just throw a few seeds in the ground and let whatever comes up and eat that. Well, I've tried that. It doesn't work too well unless you're next to a river on a dried riverbed with real fertile ground that's soft or something like that maybe. But in general, it doesn't work. Even if you just throw a little bit and throw the seeds in there, the plants just turn yellow and don't give you much. So I have a few ideas of things that I've been doing that seems to be working fairly well. So I want to share them with you, maybe give you some thoughts and ideas, and we'll go from there and see what happens. You ready to come along with me? Come on, let's go. Welcome to Gail's Garden Herbs and More. First, while we're heading down to my chicken house, which I want to show you, I'm going to briefly discuss some manures and a couple things. I don't want to go into details on that. And then we're going to discuss some other things and ideas about feeding your garden as well. While we're walking right past it, I thought I'd show you. I've got several hens setting. All of a sudden, they all decided they want to set. So I brought them out because they keep moving from nest to nest. And, well, I brought her out. I'll work on the others and set her up here with food and water and a little cage. I really don't need chicks, but they're just very determined. Anyway, let's go on down to the chicken house. Good morning, girls and gentlemen. Okay, this is my little chicken house. The doors are here. I can open it up to the egg boxes and get my eggs. There's a reason for me showing you this. Okay, we're going to look at this. One of the things we're going to be discussing is manure, chicken manure. And one way to get it, I put wire down here so when the chickens mess, it goes down. Sometimes the bigger pieces don't go through the wire and I have to get something and scrape it and so it'll go down. But it's an easy way to help keep the chicken house cleaner. And I just scrape underneath here, pull it out with a hoe and shovel it into a bucket. Then now, the old way of how I used to do what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to explain because I have a new way and I have something somebody gave me. So before I get into that, what I do with the chicken manure is I used to put it in about, not quite halfway full, in a 5-gallon bucket. Then fill it with water, stir it, let it set a few days, and I could feed my plants with it. But chicken manure is what is called hot. Okay, so your chicken manure is what's called hot. And you don't want to put it directly onto your plants because it will kill them, burn them. Things like, let's talk about that a minute. So if you took a pile of just chicken manure and let it set a year, then you could probably sprinkle it around in the dirt around your plants. Or a good thing is in the fall, dig it in if your plants are all dead out of that particular bed you're working on. Dig it into the dirt and let it set all winter. That's good too. Now on other manures like rabbit manure and goat manure, they're not hot. You can put them right around your plants. But you have to know what you've been feeding them. If you've been feeding them, say, pellets, that the stuff that was the hay and stuff that was made to make the pellets, my little disabled chihuahua fell just to make sure he was okay. Looks like he's all right. Anyway, what the stuff was that made those pellets could have Grazon in it or other chemicals. You need to know where the food has come from, what's in it, because some of that stuff will, if you put it on your ground, it'll take years before you can get it all out sometimes. And you can't grow anything. Your plants just don't want to grow. So you really have to be careful what you're using on that. But if you have 20 acres and you know what's on that 20 acres and your goats are eating it, go for it. That's great. It's not going to burn your plants. You can put it on there and feed your plants. Now, we don't always use, there's three main things: nitrogen, potassium, gosh, my brain just went blank, um, phosphorus. But there's other things. Those are the three main ones that people concentrate on for their garden. But there's others, all kinds of different minerals and stuff that need to be fed to your ground for your plants to pull up to feed you. So let's talk about some different ways. But before we do, I want to go ahead and finish what I was showing you with the chicken manure. How I used to do it in the bucket, which is another way, is making the manure tea. But a 5-gallon bucket only goes so far, and you have to keep renewing it and this and that. So somebody gave me something, and I want to show you that. Okay, look at this big barrel. Isn't that awesome? I'm really excited about that, and I've got the lid laying over here. I've slowly been filling it up. I probably won't fill it the whole way with chicken poop. Another thing I like to add with it is comfrey. Now my comfrey, as you can see there, is pretty small. I split it, put part of it over here, trying to get it to get more comfrey, but it died. I'm hoping it'll come back from the roots. I still have that there, and I've got another small one planted by my fig tree. But anyway, so yeah, you can cut up some comfrey, which is full of all kinds of wonderful nutrition, with the chicken manure. Fill this up with water and let it set about a week, stirring it occasionally with a long stick or something. Then you can put your bucket in there, lift it up, pour it out. If you want to put it in a sprayer, you're going to have to put it through something to sift it to get any particles out so it doesn't clog up your sprayer. But yeah, if you don't have a big barrel, use your 5-gallon bucket. Okay, so other things that you can do. Some people compost human manure. I'm not so much in that. You have to really know what you're doing there and do it correctly. But I have used the urine. Urine is in most of your commercial products, whether you know that or not. If you're not taking any type of medications or anything like that, you can use your own. You mix it with water and pour it on. That is mainly nitrogen. It does have some other stuff in it. Nitrogen is something you especially want at the beginning of your plants to give them a good, strong structure, get big enough to support the fruit that they will be putting out. My morning tea. Herbal tea. You want a little herb tip? Okay. This is my homemade chai, and it's also got stinging nettle and horsetail in it. That's to give me a little boost for my bones, hair, teeth, that kind of thing. And it's really very good. You can put a lot of different things in chai to mask flavors or to give a good flavor. It's good. Feeding myself this morning through my tea. But anyway, better cover this while I'm talking so a gnat or something doesn't fly in it. So that's something you can do, and I have done with the urine. Sounds a little gross, but actually your urine is pretty safe. It's just the other part that's not. You have to be careful with anyway. Okay, what are some of the other things? Okay, when I eat potatoes, if I peel them, I dry the potato peelings and grind it into a powder. I have been putting that around things like my bell peppers and tomatoes, like that. I do grind some eggshells and put the powder around some of my plants, especially tomatoes like a lot of calcium. They don't get it right away, but it feeds the microbes and stuff, and they pull that in, and it's a process. But I do use that, and it's much easier and quicker when you grind stuff. Coffee grounds, I've done that too. You want to be careful with coffee grounds as they're slightly acidic. They can maybe bring the acidic levels up. Some things like that, like your blueberries, and other plants. So you don't want to use too much calcium and get your soil out of balance. So I try to just use a little of a lot of different things and not just all of one thing and get things out of balance. I don't measure or anything like that. I can't afford to do testing and all of that. So I just try to be sensible. I try to think about some of the things my forefathers may have done. They didn't know about all the testing and all that, but they had beautiful gardens. So they had ways of doing things. I love history, so I really enjoy studying what our forefathers did. I want to tell you about a video that I saw. It's from where they portray the old times. And I know this is a little bit off topic, but it's a good tip. One of the things that they did for preserving was they made a kind of a hard, stiff dough because they wanted it to be tough. And what they did was they made a little crust and they formed it up maybe around a jar or glass or something. They would pour their maybe pork and vegetables or whatever in it and seal it, put a piece of dough on the top and seal it and bake it, and they could keep it for several days that way. If they'd maybe throw it in their saddlebag or whatever, and it kept it for a few days back then anyway. I don't know, I've not tried it, but I thought that was interesting. Very interesting video I watched on that. But yeah, I do like things about history and how they did. And they had nice gardens. They had nice herb gardens too. It was a main part of their existence, was their herb garden. You don't always see that in all the movies, but if you look at real true historical places, if you go to some of the historical reenactments, and if they're doing it truly, you'll see they'll have a little herb garden. I like to see the herb gardens that they show on that. That's my favorite. But anyway, feeding your garden. So you can feed your garden that way. I have an ugly old tote that I throw my kitchen scraps in. I kept it all winter long. I would go and scrape the snow off from it, and after a while the snow just got so high I left it till it melted, dug it out, carried it around here and threw it in this. Well, I show it quite often, but I'll show you again. Hold on. That ugly old tote. I emptied it in here because I'm trying to build this bed up. I've got logs in here. You can see one of the logs coming up out and sticking up along the side. It's got a hole through the middle of it. I've caught a couple of salamanders. One was a big old dude. I put him in there and he ran inside that log. So he ought to keep cool and be able to eat my bugs in there. I don't know if he's still there. I haven't seen him since, but yeah. Anyway, I threw it in here, and then it's kind of stunk because it's not composted the regular way. I just don't have time or resources to build big compost piles, so I just throw my kitchen scraps in there. Yeah, there's a lot of little gnats and bugs. Once I threw it in there, I covered it with some leaves and stuff and dirt, and it's fine. But that's another thing that you can do. Also, I'm trying to build these beds up too. These are my newest ones. This is my little mini herb garden. I've got herbs spread throughout as well, throughout the garden areas. If you're a fisherman or a fisher lady, take your fish guts, bones, head, whatever, and bury it in your garden. It's great for your garden. We used to do that when I was a kid, many years ago. My mom did that. She grew beautiful stuff doing that. Your plants love that. Speaking of fish, if you have a little extra money, you want to buy some fish emulsion, mix it and pour it. That's a good way too. Let me show you something else. Okay, I don't like doing too much of this. I want to be careful, but you can buy some liquid fertilizers, and there's a special reason why I bought this. There's actually 3 kinds. One is for the beginning with more nitrogen to build your plants up. This one's for the buds and blooms. Excuse me. And then there's a third one that's for after your plant has started fruiting. You mix 2 or 3 tablespoons in a gallon of water, and you can either spray it or pour it on your plants. when around your plants. But yeah, you can do that. And the reason I do this is I've got 2 sets of green stalks. Now, I do not have this one set up to with the little round containers between the layers to water it and all of that. When I used to, I would just pour my plant food in the top and it would go down through it all. Supposedly. I have a problem with it getting, the holes get clogged up and some of the pockets don't get watered and don't get fed. So when I put it together up here, I didn't even put that part on here. I just water it all the way around with the hose, spraying it down. Same thing, I get my bucket after I mix. And you can't, you need the liquid. It does go down. There are some holes in these too, I believe. And yeah, and it goes down. So, but I pour all the way around it. Try to hit most all the pockets and I get the foliage. But yeah, it's much easier to feed this with a liquid. Okay, here's my other green stalk, which is not put together. It just seems easier to deal with it when it's not put together. I'm having a hard time. I have, whether it's put together or like this, keeping things growing in it. Maybe I need to find some sort of a different mixture of dirt or whatever I'm going to put in there. I'm not going to get into the dirt part right now. I'm just talking mainly about the fertilizers. I did grow a good one over there. I don't know if I got a little extra when I was adding different fertilizers in that or if that's in the sun more during the day. It did really well for my lettuce. The other stuff is just, and it's been that way. I've had these, 2 or 3 years. Things just don't grow well in my green stalks. Maybe I know one problem why the watering system doesn't work real well is I never have a flat, balanced area if they're always on a hill or something. So it doesn't work real well that way unless you maybe have a flat, hard deck or patio or something you can put them on. They might work better for you there. But I love the material it's made out of. It's very tough. It doesn't crack and bubble up from the sun or from being hit, when you're moving and things bouncing around. Great material, that's a wonderful part of it. I've just got to learn how to deal with it. I'm having a hard time that way. But containers you've got to feed more often, especially when they're smaller like this than, say, a big container like my horse trough or thing there, or animal trough. I just filled it up with dirt and I'm growing in it now. I've got the kiddie pools too. They're a little more shallow, so they're going to take a little bit more feed than the trough would. But there's more room. It can hold more of the food and nutrients, whereas your smaller ones, it gets washed out quicker. I did buy some bags of dirt when I moved up here because you can't grow in the ground here. It's just red clay that has no nutrients in it, and it's full of these vines everywhere right around in here. Sometimes you have to break down and do that, but if you can know where you're getting it from and test it first, maybe try to sprout something in it or something and see how things do. Some plants will grow a little bit in it, but any of your broadleafs, the grazon is meant to kill anything broadleaf. It probably won't do very well. Your beans and stuff won't do well. Get something that sprouts quickly and test it in it before you use it would be a good idea. The main thing is don't stress too much. Do what you can do. I'm having fun here. I just put some of my purple blooming peas in here and I put this chain and it's starting to connect to it. I'm hoping it'll grow up the chain and decorate this little open area here. Be creative, have fun, and don't make it so hard that it's not fun anymore. I just want to give you a few ideas. It's quick and easy for me, and I don't have money to buy a lot, so I have to just use what I can. And even with whatever is curling all my leaves and stuff, I'm still getting, look how big, that will cover my hand. That is a bell pepper leaf. So I must be doing something right. If you have any other ideas you want to add to the comments below, go for it. We can all share. And I'm going to let you go. I just wanted to give you a few pointers, a few ideas. that might get you thinking on your own. You might come up with some other ideas of things that you can do. I hope you all have a blessed rest of your week and weekend coming up. I'm not sure when I'm going to post this, but anyway, God bless, and we'll catch you all next time. Of course, my end of the video bonus. Now, look at this plant here, how tiny it is. It is blooming, but the leaves are very tiny. It's just to give you an idea. There's my hand. I just threw this in the ground with a little bit of dirt in the hole, but not much, and it hasn't got as much nutrition as this big, huge one here is the same plant planted over in here where it's getting a lot more nutrition. It's coming up there. I put up this trellis, and this thing is huge. Same plant. It's just one has a little more nutrition than the other one. Anyway, an example for you, and catch you later. Bye.